First of all, your reaction to an expected decision by the Prime Minister to recognise Palestine?
Well, I think it's a good thing. It's overdue for Britain to do this. 147 countries in the world have already done it, and about half the G7 are going to do it this month.
Shouldn't the Prime Minister wait until the war has concluded?
I don't think the war will ever conclude. I think the West are not doing enough to make sure that happens. I think Israel are unchecked, attacking all of their neighbors. They're occupying parts of Syria. They've been occupying Palestine for 60 years. This war won't end until the West gets its act together.
And what about your campaign for Israel to be kicked out of international football? How is that justified, given the climate in the Middle East at the moment?
How is it not justified would be my answer, Mark. I mean, be aware that Russia was kicked out of European football, presumably for its invasion and occupation of Ukraine. Israel have just been found guilty of genocide by the United Nations. They've openly declared an intent for ethnic cleansing, and they're starving millions of people to death. I mean, what Israel are doing in Palestine is beyond the pale. It's far, far worse than what Russia have done, and Russia have been kicked out of all international sport for what they have done.
And do you not accept the argument that Israel was invaded by, obviously, Hamas forces in the single worst attack on Jewish people since the Holocaust? And the fact is that Hamas, in their charter, exist to eliminate Israel unilaterally and completely.
I don't know about Hamas charter. I haven't read it. I don't know if you have, Mark.
I've looked into it, and it contains explicitly anti-Semitic language, including the rocks and trees passage, which calls for the killing of Jews.
Okay, understood. Look, what Hamas did was wrong, no doubt about it. That invasion, the deaths of 1,000 people. But Israel have replied with the death and injury of 150,000 people, the destruction of 90% of all homes in Palestine, and the mass starvation of people. I mean, it's an outrageous response, not self-defense, it's not proportionate. So I don't think that you can pin anything on this Hamas attack and say what Israel are doing is okay.
And what about football fans? Why should they pay the price for this international conflict, and the football players who are not necessarily a part of, you know, this military activity that's happening in the Middle East? They're footballers.
Did you ask that question when Russia was kicked out of European football?
Well, I'm not sure that they necessarily should have been. You know, I certainly thought it was bizarre that that Olympic athletes weren't able to compete as private individuals who happen to be Russian. I thought that was very wrong. I suppose there is an argument to be had around the football. I mean, would you go as far as to chuck Israel out of Eurovision as well?
Absolutely. I think in both cases, Mark, I mean, I appreciate your consistency of position, but in both cases, what we do for Israel is we give them legitimacy by allowing them into these high-profile competitions as if they're a normal state, when in fact they're a terrorist state. They're beyond any control. Even the US can't control them any longer. They attack whoever they want. They bombed Qatar last week. Actually, they bombed the team from Hamas that are negotiating peace with Israel. That's how much they don't want peace.